number of areas in our survey dealing with chronic conditions, acute conditions, and cancer, and I can't remember them all, I don't have that here, but what we learned was of the chronic conditions, of the 16 that we studied, which were comparable to national data, we were able to make comparisons with national data, there were 13 conditions which were significantly higher than the national studies. Then we made comparisons with black populations, and the same thing still came out. So, and most of these areas were in respiratory and skin disorders. And so it tells us that just 2 or 3 people didn't have these concerns, that it's community-wide. And since we have discovered this, we would like for health authorities to do a more thorough investigation. Or maybe take a survey in another area of the county to see if we compare with them. And if there is a difference or if it's the same, I still think that there would be reason for professionals to look at health situations. We also found that the complaints, which were not comparable to national averages, still dealt with skin disorders and respiratory disorders. And of course, we were not suited for going any farther, but I think the data indicated that because of the high incidence of ovarian cancer, that this was in relation to what the Connecticut registry showed. We couldn't compare those because it just wasn't comparable. But the higher incidence suggests that somebody look at it.
Why do you think that this hasn't been done before?
Well, it may be benign neglect, or whether people just didn't think that people in the valley had health disorders. Or maybe in the past we've been so wedded to chemical plants, and it's economics too, I think. And nobody wanted to accuse the chemical plants of being anything but good. May have been a perception that we don't rock the boat here. Because if we find bad health incidences and try to point to the chemical plants, that will affect us all. I don't know. Because, we can't say it's just Institute. It's valley-wide. And, but the fact that we are downwind, maybe nobody ever thought about it being downwind. Maybe this is all kind of new. So I won't accuse anybody, except for just being thoughtless about it. But now there is more evidence. And I will begin to point some fingers if somebody doesn't look at it a little more closely, because the evidence is being investigated, and I think enough of it is going to be established. For instance, NICS will be doing a health survey. And I think each bit of work that is done is a piece of the puzzle that will be eventually fitted together,
Well, it does sound like some of those with the most to gain from results that indicate there's something going on are already trying to discredit you in a way.
Yes, I indicated that this morning's paper, the plant manager of Rhone Plank, I thought made a very insensitive remark. He indicated that the survey was not scientific. We never said it was scientific. We said it was merely a survey. And the tone was one of not only disinterest, but disdain for what a community effort represented. Now, they're putting out a newsletter commenting about developing good community relations. Well, as far as I'm concerned, all that they have done has just been torn down, because we are established people in this community, and this was a part of our work. We have residents who've lived here for 50 years who are involved in this. We have a retired chemistry professor who was a member of the health survey committee. And we think we have done, and will be doing very positive, constructive, as well as intelligent things as far as our community is concerned. And for a plant manager to look at our efforts with disdain and to make derogatory remarks is certainly not commensurate with his position as plant manager. I think he does a discredit to Ron Palank.
What are some of the steps that people concerned would ask be taken now?
Well, we feel that we will continue with public awareness kinds of things, because that's been a strong point in our plank in what we've done. Doing research and sharing this with community people, because I am not knowledgeable. You know, I'm trying to learn something every day because I'm just a regular community person, but I've learned a great deal. And we want mothers of small children and growing children to be aware. You know, you hear a lot about risk assessment. We think parents especially should be involved, and we are going to be developing more linkages with within community and outside of the community. We want dialogue to really grow and develop in a very positive and expressive way. We want people to know what plant officials have always known, and they will know it because we have the right to know. You know, the amendments that were made to the SARA amendments this spring that came that came into being, that are going to be implemented now. We think that will go a long way to opening up interaction. And of course, our community assessment programs, which I think are terrific. I think I mentioned to you that we have identified 28 areas of concern. They are categorized under 6 major areas, and we are going to be deciding how best to find out what the community wants to hear about first, and how best we can do to get information to them. And that's going to be a big activity with us, and it's really quite exciting, you know.
What do you see as the future for this community?
Well, I don't know. I hope that the environment will become better, you know, with all that's being done. But our next door neighbor, as far as we're concerned, is still a question mark. What is being said, you know, their actions will really be will really tell the story about what they are doing as far as helping to improve the quality of life around here. So, being the consummate optimist, I'm going to say that I hope things will continue to improve. And if our community has anything to do with it, as far as participation is concerned, if that will help, there will be improvement. But if remarks, as I've mentioned to you earlier, continue, I have a big question about it. You know?
Do you think a community like Institute has, has a right to be involved in?
Absolutely. Living in America gives us the right. And it's imperative that we that we become involved citizens. That is the democratic way. You know, you identify issues, you debate issues, and then you come to logical conclusions about how you're going to deal with these issues. And we think that is true democracy at work. And this is what we're trying to do, to get community people to talk, to get others to talk with community people, and for them to interact, you know.
And so you all feel that you should be involved with the decisions that are made.
No question about it. No question about it. I don't believe going through a plant looking at something we don't know about is important. That's not important to me. I'm interested in statistics. I can't say it. Statistics. I'm interested in what's being reported to the Air Pollution Commission. And of course, the only place we'll get our information is from plants. And of course, some of our people question that, but where else will you get it? But plants. And I'm sure that somebody else will be monitoring them too. So we hope to see, one thing that we're very interested in, reduction of toxic wastes at the source. And that will in itself improve. And we're going to be pushing, pressing for that very hard. Reduction of toxic waste at the source. Multimedia, not just the air, but the whole thing, the soil and the water. The soil, the water, air, land, whatever. We see ourselves as developing linkages with other counties. And there is strength when people in the communities talk to each other. You know, we share knowledge. We learn how to survive, really. And I think ideas come from the communities which plant or businesses can utilize. They don't know all the answers either. We don't, and they don't either. But together, we can make it a fine whole and make this little piece of America really what America is supposed to be, you see.
I wonder Union Carbide sort of started here in the Valley. Of course, it's become a multinational.
Sure.
And Ron Palenque being a French company coming in, and what their commitment is to this community.
We've asked that. We really don't have an answer. We have some pronouncements, but as I said, their actions will prove whether they want to be neighborly or whether they want to anesthetize us. Is that the word? Numb us to what is happening to us. But I assure you that people concerned, that none of us will ever look at ourselves the way we used to. Individually, as individuals, as the community, and even plants won't look at us as they used to. Because since the advent of people concerned, we feel that we have turned that around considerably. I think that's one of our greatest contributions. Of course, we have pressed for evacuation routes and lowering of large tanks of toxics being stored next door to us. But I think the way we are perceived is probably the greatest contribution that we've made. And if we find something that we don't like, you can be assured that it will be heard about. A lot of this leadership that has evolved in our community, I'll go back to that first group, Estella Chandler, and Ed Hoffman, Paul Newchams, and I'm sure there are others who were before me that we have built upon what they started.
I know, is it about time for you to go? It's getting
we have some more time.
Have many people from Institute worked in the plant? Is there?
The data is there, but I don't think a great number. I think they have chosen a few people to work in the plant, and the plants or wherever, and as you know what the mode of employment is in America, and I think it may have been a little worse here with the plants. So I don't think that many of the people in the community are employees of the plants. Maybe in the past few years it may have improved. I don't know. I don't have the data. But just from what I know, being a community member, it isn't overly crowded with community members at the plant.
Do you think there's some bonds to be made with the people working, some common interests between people concerned and the
Well, I tell you, we've gotten a lot of information from people who work in plants over the years. Of course, they have to be very discreet, or they'll get fired. They feel that they'll get fired. We don't know, but they feel that they will be in jeopardy. But they share troubling things with us. And some we can't do a thing about, because if we did, then we'd blow the whistle. But we are privy to a lot of knowledge. And we would never put those people in jeopardy. But it helps us to look at our situation and to know what we are working with and against.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? Have we missed anything important, you think?
Well, I would just like to say that the community involvement that has developed because of this organization's performance has been very gratifying. I would like to see our community become more cohesive. There is another organization, the Sub-Area Group, and I'd like to see issues kept distinctly separate, because we are concerned about a number of things. But I would like to see the community become a whole. And I think as a community that we can make things happen for the better more easily. And so to end this, I would say that people concerned about MIC has been a positive force in the community, and that we will continue to be even more positive. And we will continue to look at issues, we will continue to question, and we will expect sensible and livable answers with which we could live from whomever we ask questions. Thank you.
Well, that's good.
That people against MIC, people concerned about MIC,
Mm-hmm.
within that group, one of the fundamental changes you talked about was the perception of the organization from the outside, but also the perception that people had of themselves and about being able to do something.
Yes.
Could you tell me a little more about that?
Well, you know, the feeling of powerlessness pervades a lot of communities. And given the history of this area, we didn't feel that we could make a difference, as we were. But when we became members of People Concerned, that leadership at that time was so invigorating, and it was so inspiring. And we decided, well, gee, we can do this. We can articulate what we feel. And it just kept growing. And it just changed how we felt. It was sort of like an analogy. The way we felt when Martin Luther King came. Before Martin Luther King and after Martin Luther King. I've almost felt that way as far as my community is concerned. And I think that is a terrific analogy, because the feeling of powerlessness was there. And after the advent of each, we feel that we can go forward and that we can make a difference through our own efforts. And we will not accept that our involvement or that what we do is of no importance. We know it's important because we are contributing members of this society. And we feel very comfortable with that. I know I sound a little pedantic, but that's truly the way I feel. You know, that's the way I grew up. And it's good to feel now the way I felt when I was a little girl. You know, our parents protected us. We were really in a protective cocoon. And it made us, we thought we could do anything until we got out into the world. And I have that same feeling, and it's very inspiring and makes me want to go to work.
Wonderful.
So it's been fun. It's tiring. A lot of hours go into this, but I like it because I think I'm doing something that's worthwhile.
And not just for this community.
No,
either.
no. I think it will have a rippling effect. And people from other areas call us. They hear about us, and we are so astounded. And we don't know that we're doing anything that's different or better. And they tell us, you'd be surprised how well you're doing. And that's very encouraging, you know. So it's so with that, we will just keep on. And we'll stay in touch with you, because something else is going to be coming up, just as interesting as this. We don't know what.
That's right. We'll never be able to finish this program.
No, it's going to be, and we hope it will continue.
Uh-huh.
You know, that is the fun of being involved in your community, of being volunteers. I think volunteerism is the greatest thing that ever happened to the world, and you know, Americans are great volunteers, and that's what this is. volunteerism.
Yeah, that's good. I know it's getting harder and harder to get people involved.
Yes, yes.
They sit and watch television.
And so it's up to us to, quote unquote, market the concepts that we're interested in. And then there will be a lot of fallout. A lot of people will come. And I think a fertile ground, again, is parents. Parents who are concerned about where their children are growing up. And they need to be made aware of what, of the research out there that states what might happen to children during the developmental stages. You know, if odd things are put in their bodies, like toxic wastes, etc. We're not knowledgeable about that, but we'll become so, and we'll share. So that's it.
We should let you go.
I have apples. You know, you might want to put those apples in the car.
Okay.
And the coffee did. But I've got to get dressed to get to that Community Relations Council meeting.
Well, why don't we'll let you go, and we'll shoot a few,
All
just
right.
pictures around the yard.
And listen, I had some banana bread. Well, it was the end of the banana bread, but I had some cream cheese. But if you would like some coffee, and you can go right on up to the table and have it.
Okay, I'm gonna grab it.
I'll tell them. I'll just sit down at the table, and the cups and things are there, and you just come on in. I'll tell them, Morris, you know how to get upstairs.
Okay. And you just go right.
I think you can get enough shots out of there. I'm so ugly on my brown, so we got my sunglasses.
Oh, not at
But
all.
do you think you all can cut enough out there to make a...
Oh yeah, it'll be great.
Where I sounded dumb.
No, not
that
at all.
out.
Okay. You sounded great. It was.
That he needs to build some bridges.
He seems to be not. I know I've met Bob Link over at South Charleston, and people feel that he's much more
Shoho is
sincere.
arrogant. You know, I was sitting in my little...
I'm gonna put that in the- I'm gonna see if he's quiet me under you.